Today on the channel, we're going to take a look at Guitar Magazine from January of 1990. Alright, today for you we've got Guitar Magazine, which used to be called Guitar for the Practicing Musician. This is from January of 1990. We got some Motley Crue on the front, so take a look. We got Nicky Sixx and Mick Mars. I heard the other day that Mick Mars just turned 71. That's hard to believe. So this was 1990. So that means Mick was 41. Wow, that was a long time ago. Seems like yesterday. So we got Steve Stevens in here. We got Extreme. Mother, don't want to go to school today. Paul McCartney yesterday. It's funny they don't say the Beatles. They say Paul McCartney. Ace Frehley. We got Deuce in here. Pretty good issue. Let's take a look. Let's dig in. Kicking it off with one of these weird G&Ls. Shrapnel Records. I always thought this guitar was cool. This Greg Howe guitar. I always wanted a guitar that had all these tachometers and stuff on it. It's pretty cool. Phantom Blue, Cacophony, Fretboard Frenzy, Shrapnel's Finest Guitar Moments. That right there would be the album you'd want, is Fretboard Frenzy. Well, I wonder if that's on YouTube. I need to look up Fretboard Frenzy. There's Richie Kotzen looking all glam, permed. Jason Becker, Racer X. Pretty hot stuff, man. Cool. All right, here we go. There's Nicky. Nicky playing probably Dr. Feelgood tour, more than likely. It's a big Marshall rack system. 9000 series. Guess these are just power amps. I guess, well, no, it's got this. I mean, what would you use all this for? I mean, this never makes sense to me. I mean, is it for like running multiple cabinets? And I don't know. Seems like overkill. Looks pretty awesome. I've said it before in these guitar videos. The 90s were an era of digital processing in rack effects. Rack effects are coming back slowly, unfortunately. 3-part harmony machine, metal machine, the MM4 metal machine. I bet this thing sounds awful. Look at Michael Faith. Got his boots on, kicked up on the PV. See what they say in the letters. Letters to the editor here. Let's see. Let's pick one out. Dear Guitar, don't you hate those nitpicking know-it-alls, know-it-all nabobs who write magazines and correct every trivial bit of misinformation? P.S. The Beach Boys' first label was Candix, not Candex. Why would anybody waste the time to write in like something that stupid? Dear Guitar, thanks a million for the feature in the resume column. It's definitely a high point of my career so far and a major breakthrough. Hopefully it will be a springboard for more opportunities. At the moment, it's a thrill to have years of practice and paying dues appreciated. I don't know what else to say now. Maybe I'll write an instrumental song about it, except to say thanks again. By the way, your Steely Dan interview was fascinating. I wish I'd go back in time and play one of their albums, although my solo might have been overdubbed by 12 guys. Maybe the phrase "do it again" with their recording technique theme, yeah. Craig Erikson. We need to look up Craig Erikson and see if he used that spotlight as a springboard. Like next month, they give you a little teaser of what's coming, and you look at the magazine you're looking at and go, man, this one sucks. I wish I had next month. Whitesnake, Alice Cooper, The Kinks, ZZ Top, Mr. Big. Kittens Got Claws. I did that. This was the one I did on my most recent page turner. If you want to go back and look, we took a look at that magazine. Chris and Pelletieri playing a crate combo amp. Everyone giving the thumbs up on these things. Chris is considered considered by many to be the fastest guitarist on the scene, and he knows that crate will keep up with him as he gets in for another stunning display of guitar wizardry. Check out Ace over here. I was just listening to Ace's audiobook, No Regrets. I'm on like chapter 14. It's really interesting. It's fun when you listen to their audiobooks, how Ace and Gene and Paul have such different perspectives on certain things. Here's where they bring him in the listening room and they play him some music, and he gives his 2 cents on what he thinks about the music that they're letting him listen to. Get his opinion on it. So let's see. Magic Bus. So Magic Bus. He says, classic Who, Ivy album. Pete Townsend was one of my biggest influences. I didn't know that. Jailhouse Rock from Beck Ola by Jeff Beck. Ace says, Jeff Beck's Jailhouse Rock. I used to do this song with my club bands. It's a great song. White Room from Wheels of Fire by Cream. Classic Clapton, Jack Bruce, and Ginger Baker. Believe it or not, I was thinking about doing a heavy remake of this song. They tell no tales. Listen to Your Heart from TNT. It sounds European because of the production and vocals. It seems slightly overproduced in the arrangement, but maybe that's what they were going for. I thought it was too busy. They were a pretty busy band. Street Lethal from Racer X. The guitarist had very good technique with a lot of speed. I'd have to listen to the rest of his work in depth to find out if he can play soulful or if he just has the ability to slow down and be tasteful. Dear Sound Connection. Advertisement. Last Child, Nuno Bettencourt. First children are so intense. The spotlight follows them wherever they go, bringing them all the attention and all the criticism. Each successive child in a family has to share the story or the glory and fight to be noticed. They carry the past history of their older siblings inside them, from which to learn life's lessons in order to ultimately break free to form their own identities. In the family of rock and roll, each generation has absorbed and reshaped I can't read this. Absorbed and reshaped what came before them. With the last children of the 90s now in possession of the chops and forms of the fusion players and the Bach and rollers, the freedom of the post-Van Halen school, the feel of blues, as well as rough and tumble energy of Chuck Berry and all of his kin. I don't like how that was written, but I get what they're saying. Nuno was the last child of 10. Everybody in the family played an instrument. I knew that. Are you one of the people that go back to the 70s? I'm not going back to the 70s. I was influenced by them, but I'm not going back and playing them. When did you know you had the touch? When I wrote something, my favorite is Gates of Heaven, because the moment I started realizing maybe I had something was with the tone. Are there enough places in Boston for a new band to play? Sure, if you're good. Nuno was like very new on the scene. It's funny how you can listen and read this interview, and he hadn't had his history and wasn't revered as highly respected as he is today. I mean, people knew he was great back in 1990, but he was just hitting the scene, man. Boston is a guitar-heavy town. Does being close to Berkeley make any difference? Absolutely. There's a lot of good players in Boston. You can study players at home, but you need to get the big stuff live. Live is a different story because it's loud and hard to control. How long did the band play out before it got signed? 3.5 years. How did you and Gary get together? It's one of those magical stories. Happened by total luck at 3 in the morning, and we're both at this club. The place was nearly empty, and I was at the bar. Did you ever sound like your heroes? Oh yeah, Eddie is probably the most rounded guy that I like because he is a song guy. Look at this picture of Steve Stevens. Man, he was a tiny man playing those hammers. How long did it take to record this album? We recorded this album twice. We recorded it the first time, and Mac produced and engineers. We didn't like what we did. He had to recut everything. I didn't know that. Does playing any other instruments affect you as a guitarist? Sure. The first thing I'd say to guitar players is if they ask what helps me play guitar, I learn how to play drums. Are your solos written? They are. They always start out being spontaneous live on some songs. I tend to do different things, sometimes more on the bluesy side. If there's a nice melody or a nice piece around it, I like to write it. How do you approach writing a solo? It's a song within a song. When you solo, there are no chords. Are you hearing bass and drums and saying I'll be free? I do a lot. Sometimes I come up with licks and by singing them. Who are your favorite rhythm players besides Eddie Van Halen? Jimmy Page. I like Steve Vai's rhythm playing a lot. He's a sick player. I love Satriani. Have you ever worked with another guitarist? When I first went down and played with the band, they wanted another guitarist. I said no. I don't mean it to be in a cocky way. I said I want to do it myself. I can relate. There's a Boss MG10. A little jumbo. That's kind of a weird name for a little amp. Here's some performance notes. Dr. Feelgood. Here's the bottom part of the Steve Vai poster for Passion and Warfare. Actually, it's probably there was a middle, there was a top part. What's this tablet here for? Mother, don't want to go to school today. Look at all those notes. Nuno is a beast. I guess Porno Graffiti hadn't come out yet. Maybe it did. 1990. That was from their first album, though. Guitar in the 80s by Andy Eldort. Doing some tips and tricks on some 80s stuff. There's Deuce. It's a good tune. I like really, really old Kiss. Kiss's first album is great, cover to cover. Yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Take any 8 CDs for a penny. There's Sir Paul. Paul's, what, 80 now? Got to be 80. Saw him on that Taylor Hawkins tribute. I love Paul McCartney. Seen him live before many years ago. Love the Beatles, but Paul's really struggling these days. He's getting up there, man. He's really old. It's really hard for him to sing. It's hard to witness, but he's still so cool. Paul McCartney. My style, he responds to a question of mine. I never think about stuff like that. I never had any lessons. I made it all up myself, so I really don't know what style I have. What's this? He says, I say you're... He's one of those guys who writes everything down. I like to hear it all. He writes it down. It sounds like this could have been just the kind of yin and yang that moved the great Lennon and McCartney all those years ago. But unlike Ringo, Paul will not admit to hearing John talking to him on stage. I've heard Ringo say that. Paul says, seriously, but I actually don't experience that. I love John. It doesn't mean I don't love him. I think about him a lot, but I never get the feeling he's watching. Writing a song is a feeling. Writing a song is another story, however. I will kind of talk to him mentally and just sit and think. No, he wouldn't do that. Eventually he gets as misty as the next Beatles fan. I've done so much stuff that I'm just glad I've won a few. He modestly shrugs. Occasionally I do look back and I just think, my God, what happened? Did I dream it? Bloody hell, Let It Be, Hey Jude. Then there's Magical Mystery Tour. She came in through the bathroom window. I mean, I sat down and wrote around 35 songs for the tour that were good songs and I thought were big songs like Yellow Submarine, a lot of which we're not doing, but they're really big songs. And the interesting thing is quite a few of them I or the Beatles never played on stage. Things like Sgt. Pepper. I'll keep going here. Charvel. Man, if you haven't seen it, there's an awesome Charvel documentary on YouTube, Story of Charvel. So many cool stories in there. One thing I never knew is that they made Michael Anthony's Jack Daniels bass. There's some really cool Michael Anthony stuff in there. Some really good Edward Van Halen stories and information. Once again, we got these KMDs. This guy's loading his minivan, his mom's minivan full of KMD equipment. He's got the rake in the corner. His garage looks a lot like mine. He's got like all this crap over here with the yard equipment. His garage is a lot cleaner than mine, though. I got to give him credit. There's young Mick. That is a cool guitar. It's a Telecaster with a Floyd Rose and a humbucker. One volume knob. I think they produced those for a limited run. That might have been a Hamer, maybe, or a Kramer. Can't remember, man. Those things were expensive. They were like collectible. Look how cool Nikki 6 looks. That bass is fat. Look how fat that is. I guess that's a Thunderbird. What's he saying right here? Nikki says, the book I'll be releasing has about 50 songs that I've done for Motley Crue and probably 50 originals. I'm a soapbox type person. On each album, there's always the things that feel close to me, that I feel I need to say, whether it's something like Dancing on Glass on the last album or Time for Change on this album. We're not 100% serious. 50% of Motley Crue is sex. It's tongue-in-cheek sex, like She Goes Down, Slice Your Pie. I got a real kick out of writing the sleazy stuff. It's important because it's a big part of Motley. Interesting how Seymour Duncan puts this live wired pickup thing in the middle of the Motley Crue interview. Mick's most adventurous playing on the album occurs during Dr. Feelgood. It starts with a lick that I had down or known and played before, he reveals, but then in the center part there's arpeggios and the hammer-on things. Truthfully, I never wanted to do hammer-ons. I don't know how to do them, but everybody does them. I know not doing hammer-ons restricts me, so I put them in. Mick describes himself as a pattern player. Pretty much, he says, but not scale patterns. I know that this pattern will work here, this one will work there. Mick plays dobro on that cut, which is Slice of Your Pie. I've liked dobro since the early days of Johnny Winter. The sound is mostly Kramer's, with Floyd's going down, says Mick. I don't have them pulling up. So it was a Kramer. Bob Rock was great. Mick chimes in. I've always had the sound in my studio, but this is the first time it's been captured on record. I've heard him say that many times. The bottom line on Dr. Feelgood is that Nicky did it again. For the past few weeks, the album has been sitting at #1. Our career has blossomed so that it just throws me off sometimes, he admits. But I just live my life. I do everything that a normal person would do. And Feelgood was a huge, huge album. That's a cool looking Carvin. I don't ever recall seeing a Carvin V. It's like an upside down Rhodes Jackson, like he flipped it. Look at that thing. I never ever remember seeing these. This would actually sell today. This is I would buy this. That's cool. I'm not even really a V guy. There's Feelgood. More tablature. They put the bass line for Feelgood. Let's see. Skip through some of this. There's Satriani with Hair. Gonna go see Satriani. He's gonna be in Nashville in about 10 days, so I'm gonna go check him out. I do believe. Like how they show you how to set up. Paul Gilbert, Mr. Big, tells you how to set up stuff here. Distortion delay, speakers, real complicated stuff. Altered tensions. Bass secrets, 2-hand chords. Not really interesting to me. Man for All Seasons by Billy Idol. Let's see, we got questions, guitar questions here. How can I stop my tremolo springs from resonating when I play certain pitches? Some players have made spring mutes out of soft plastic foam and some plastic sheeting. I've seen garbage bags taped to the spring compartments. Why are my guitar strings so hard to bend, and why do they go out of tune when I do manage to bend them? If your strings are hard to bend, maybe you should try a lighter gauge or switch up using a guitar with a slightly shorter scale length. Question. How long should I soak my pickups in hot wax to reduce microphonic problems? You should soak them long enough to allow the wax to infiltrate the deepest wraps of the coils. Question. Is it possible or advisable to convert my electric 6-string to an electric 12-string? Yes, it's possible, and considered that all things considered, there are not all that many varieties of electric 12 strings. I'm going to answer this question. Do not alter. Just buy a 12 string. Don't try to do that kind of stuff. It won't work. You cannot alter a 6 into a 12 successfully. All right. This is a continued interview from somebody. Sonogram, Steve Stevens. You worked with Harold Faltermeyer on Top Gun. Film work is high pressure as hell, man, because you're not dealing with a $150,000 budget for a record. Who's got that budget? You're dealing with millions of dollars poured into a movie, and the score can make or break the film. Top Gun is probably up until this record the best solo that I've ever done on a record. I really don't like the Top Gun theme. I'm probably going to in the minority and get some hate comments about that, but I don't like it. There's no such thing as a great guitar part without a great song. Fair enough. I'll listen to something purely for the sake of musical proficiency, but it should sound original to me. Could any of the Atomic Playboy stuff been Billy Idol songs? Certainly. I never wrote any lyrics with Billy, but one song on Rebel Yell musically, that's my signature, that syncopated standard guitar part that repeats every 4 bars. In the studio, do you want to go for perfection or looseness? The perfection was there because all the tracks were rehearsed before recording them. I was given enough time to fully explore what I was going to do. Guitar tablature books. Jeff Healey. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. The great B.B. King once told me that the blues is a feeling. He went on to say that he could hear and feel the blues in John Lennon, Frank Sinatra, and Willie Nelson. What is this? It's a Vester guitar. Interesting. Here they got some reviews. Atomic Playboy's review. I have this album. I am a Steve Stevens fan. I love Steve Stevens. I don't like this album at all. Bottom line, they say it's an acid guitar meltdown. Yeah, the singer bugs me on this album, and I don't think it's great. Miracle by Queen. See the bottom line? Resilient guitar on Queenie rock. I Want It All was a cool song. That's right when Freddie Mercury was dying. He barely could record that album. I remember that was pretty solid stuff. Cocked and Loaded by LA Guns. I don't like LA Guns too much, but I like some of their stuff. Bottom line, soon to be the #1 gun, the other gun band, aiming for the top of the Sunset Strip, is hitting on all chambers with Cocked and Loaded. That is a great album. I'm just not a fan of those guys. The Cosmodemonic Telegraph Company. Well, never heard of them before. Bottom line, Fractured Fairy Tales of Mind Rock. We need to look that up. Raging Slab. A Southern Metal Blues Warp. Sleight of Hand, Guy Man Dude. There's somebody else I haven't heard of in a long time. Fearless Metal Wanking. That was the bottom line. Billy Squire, Here and Now. Bottom line, Course, Compassionate Squire. Richie Kotzen. From Shrapnel Records. Bottom line, Another Dynamic Debut. I like Richie Kotzen. He is super versatile. Look at these dudes. Street Legal. That's the name of this band. We need to look up Street Legal and see where these guys are. Probably working for Guitar Magazine, Guitar World. Red Octopus. Jefferson Starship. Look at this. They classified ads. I mean, before the internet, this is like you put in wanted ads. Wanted bassist for female-oriented R&B band. Wanted desperately used bass tremolo system. Prefer a Kaler. Wanted free guitar lessons. I will teach you scales, modes, and theory. Speed building techniques. What's the catch? Guess just pay him. Wonder how much it cost to put a wanted ad in the Guitar Magazine back in those days. All right, new products. Let's see what was new in 1990. We got this Dean Markley combo. We've got this cool Charvel. Look at that slanted single coil. It's a Fusion Deluxe. That's cool. Look at that old Floyd. That's awesome, man. I dig it. These mini packs, these Kramer things, supposed to be like Rockmans. I bet you these things were absolute trash. Axe rack. Studio mount, support guitars horizontally on a wall. Oh, look at this. Look at Derek Taylor here. He's from Oak Ridge, Coracano, Texas. They give the guy's address, 3217 Oak Ridge, Coracano. I mean, you can just like drive to this dude's house. He likes Jason Becker, Yngwie. He likes Bach. Yeah, he's rounded. George Lynch, Paul Gilbert, Charlie Parker. You could ask this guy, name me one Bach song. Like, you could say, what key is Fugue in G minor written in? And he would be like, I don't know. It's got a Kramer Focus 6000. That's nice. Fender Strat. Randall Mini Stack. Rockman Chorus Delay, of course. His band is named Frantic Mantis. Frantic Mantis. Delton Weichel. Right, this dude looks pretty cool. He's playing a Strat with a humbucker. Influences Alex Lifeson. He's kind of got that Lifeson haircut. George Lynch, Eric Johnson. He's kind of got the Eric Johnson part going on too. Tony McAlpine. His band is named Hemisphere. Hemisphere, like fear. He's got a homemade Strat style guitar. He was doing Strat builds back in 1990. I got to give the guy respect. He's got a homemade guitar. All right, Jeff Sheets from Kansas City, Missouri. His influences are everyone from Steve Vai to Charlie Parker. He loves everything. This LP is called Warp Speed. He's got a ton of equipment. You can tell this guy could probably really burn. There's blues. I like blues. Blue Saraceno's a good dude. Look at this guy playing this gem. Looks like he's plugged into a suitcase. The Sound and the Fury. The Hoodoo Gurus. Man, times were about to change right then. 1990. It was about to go down, fellas. These musicians declared war in Russia. On drug and alcohol abuse, Kramer supplied the weapons. Totally not politically correct for an advertisement, but back in 1990, that was cool. I still think it's a cool ad, but you can never do that today. We are proud to be an American company. Yeah, these were all the dudes that went over to Russia. Cool. Sweet. Last page. Bunch of bass players talking about their heart keys. They all look like they're ready to play like a college recital. Cool. There you go, guys. Guitar Magazine, January of 1990. If you like this kind of content, please comment below. Consider subscribing. And of course, have a great day. Peace out.